Welcome to Boxing During Dinner. I'm David Berry, and Armando is still technically the host, but I've got a little bit of insider information about where we are tonight. You're going to recognize our temporary new home. We are at Energy Kitchen in Coral Gables, right here on 2626 Ponce De Leon Boulevard. They just opened up just a week ago, and we're here with featherweight contender Jessy Cruz and your host, Armando Alvarez. So if you guys are interested in some delicious food, and we're actually going to probably pan over there and show you. I'm taking Alex all over the place, but you can see we've got a delicious, it's called the Energy Burger. We've got egg white right there on the top, and some awesome, Armando's going to bring it right over and show you. That right there is the Energy Burger. It's got egg white on the top, cheese, it's actually bison right underneath there, and a whole wheat bun. That whole thing, massive, right? 495 calories. Everything on the menu under 500 calories. Then you've got the spinach souffle at the back, 70 calories. I'm going to be stuffed, and I'm not even going to have 600 calories. Meanwhile, Armando got some fries, got some sea salt on there. He's got a wrap. Which is still healthy. Which is still healthy. You got sea salt on those. So it's an awesome place. If you guys are interested in eating healthy, which as boxers, I think it's an ideal scenario for Jessy to probably grab something off of this menu tonight and eat healthy. We're happy to be here at Energy Kitchen in Coral Gables. So, Armando, take it away.
Well, David, yeah, I'm excited to be here as well. You know, we haven't abandoned Mark Randazzo. that didn't happen. You know, we're just you know, doing this thing here at Energy Kitchen. It's a great place. If you're here in the Miami area, please pass by. It's good food. Jessy loves the breakfast here, so he's witness to the fact that the food's good, and he's a boxer who's training for a fight.
And
so
he's eating here tonight.
And he's eating here tonight, exactly. But before we get to Jessy's fight, you know, Jessy's also a big fight fan, and he knows tons of fighters here in the Miami area. This past weekend, and you know, there was a lot of talk about this fight for, you know, whatever reason. But Richard Abril, or Richard, you know, he's French now, as Showtime was referring to him. It's not Richard, it's Richard Abril. He fought Sharif Bogere. That guy. And he won by decision. You know, Abril the last couple of fights hasn't been really fan friendly. You know, he's when he began, I thought he was a really good technical fighter. I used to enjoy watching him fight. But as of late, and you know, his opponent didn't help either, because he was leading a lot with his head. But he's kind of become a fighter that the fans don't want to see in a main event. You know, what do you think went on in his last few fights that has led to him fighting like this?
I don't know. He used to put combinations together, and now he's depending on a jab and then moving around. He's not bringing the action like he used to. He used to be more of a jab and throw combination and be more aggressive, and now he's, I don't know. It wasn't an easy fight either, because that guy kept on rushing and hitting him with the head. You got to give him props. He kept on fighting. He could have stopped fighting with that big cut he had in his eye. So,
I mean, the credit goes to Abril, because he did win the fight, but it's not going to help him with the fans that criticize him after the Brandon Rios fight, because obviously Brandon Rios is, you know, the darling of the Mexican-American crowd, because he fights like Mexican-Americans and Mexicans. It's just like non-stop action, and we love Brandon Rios. We love to watch him fight. But the Mexican fans are still going to hate Richard Abril after this fight, David.
Yeah, as will Armando.
No, I love Richard Abril.
we love Richard Abril around here. You know, it's in some ways, there's another guy at 135 pounds who's also not really putting on a fan-pleasing style all the time, and that's Miguel Vasquez. You know, guys have to find a way to win fights, and I think that maybe the Richard Abril that we've seen in the past two fights is a product of his opponents. You know, guys who are aggressive pressure fighters who, you know, in particular in the Bogere case, is really like an animal. Reminded me in some ways maybe of how Abner Mares fights. But, you know, he did what he had to do. He won this fight, you know, convincingly enough, and hopefully he can get in a situation where he's with a different, you know, level of opponent who's not going to make him have to fight this way. But I agree, you know, I would like to see a different style out of Richard Abril, but he's doing what is necessary to win fights right now, and that's really all you can ask of a guy.
And I remember years ago when Lennox Lewis was dominating the heavyweight division, he fought David Tua, and I remember it was an ugly fight. It was just Lennox Lewis boxing from the outside, ends up winning the fight. I mean, he won almost every round. You know, and at the time I remember telling people, I'm like, you know what, it's not that he's a boring fighter, it's that he's a fighter that does, and he knows what he has to do to win, and he wins fights, however which way he needs to win the fight. Richard Abril's been doing that, and to be honest, I enjoyed the fight with Brandon Rios a little more because we know Brandon. We've seen how Brandon fights, and he's an aggressive fighter. And to see Richard Abril neutralize him the way that he did in that fight, you know, whether you thought Abril or Brandon Rios won or lost or whatever, you know, he made it a tough fight, and he didn't go down like every other fighter has against Brandon Rios. So to that degree, yeah, it is a testament to you know, the adjustment of Richard Abril in these fights. And you did mention Abner Mares, and Abner Mares, he fights in a division, you know, that Jessy fights in. Yeah, and he's going to be fighting Daniel Ponce De Leon on May 4th. It replaces Canelo on, you know, May 4th, since he's going to be fighting April 20th. How do you feel about that fight, Ponce and Abner Mares? I think it should be a good fight.
I think it's going to be an action-packed fight. Abner Mares comes, he throws a lot, he's aggressive, action-packed. It should be a good fight. It should be a real good fight.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one too, and part of me, this is going to sound terrible, especially for guys like Steve Flores, who lives in California, is a big fan of our show, who is a huge Abner Mares fan, and I'm just not. I don't like his style, but I think that this is a match that's going to make him look fun. I did not like, in particular, his most recent fight when he was up against. The name's going to escape me now. Anselmo Moreno, Quemito. I thought that fight was so irritating, the way that Mares was just swinging around like a wild animal. I think Ponce De Leon is a better matchup for him, and fans are going to get a better treat out of this one, I think, as a result. But yeah, I think Abner Mares wins this fight. I think he's got that thing that makes a lot of guys different. He is not the most skilled fighter in his weight class or around the, you know, boxing in general. But the guy puts, you know, on a show every single time he steps into the ring, and he refuses to lose fights, and that's what makes him the champion that he is. And I think that's why Mexicans like Steve Flores like this guy so much.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a good fight for that Cinco de Mayo weekend, you know, to replace Canelo.
You need a freaking Mexican, a real Mexican.
You need a Mexican on the card, and Abner Mares is a Mexican fighter. And he's a really good guy, a really good fighter. You know, he has outstanding credentials, both amateur and professional. And one of the memories I have of Abner Mares doesn't even have to do with Abner Mares. It has to do with his fight, but it wasn't on him on our show. It was Alan Hopper coming on our show to talk about the Agbeko fight, which I still remember. It was a pretty funny episode. And speaking of May 4th, there's rumors of Angulo fighting Gabriel Rosado in a rematch, and that should be a hell of a war if they do that again.
No, you got more to talk about.
Oh, I do? You sure?
Yeah.
I'll just say more. You know, because of the Alfredo Angulo that we saw in his last fight against that no-named welterweight who moved up a weight class to fight him, and teed off on Angulo at will and almost won the fight, I think this Rosado fight is a very interesting battle now all of a sudden. It's a losable fight for Angulo. Now, granted, you know, I think Rosado walked through everything that Gennady Golovkin had, and that proves to me that the guy's, you know, absolutely in to go for a war. But, you know, I don't think this is going to have the same outcome, or at least not the same way as the first fight. Angulo is a shell of himself until he proves otherwise. And Rosado, to me, yes, he lost to Golovkin, but there's a lot of Rosado left to give.
You know, and I don't think you know that Angulo is at St. Quentin or anything that resembles that, or Rikers Island, but you know, being put away for that many months in a detention center takes a toll on a man. You know, he came back strong against Raul Cáceres and knocked him out in a couple rounds, but you know, he does have power, and you can never take that away from him. I think the fight against Rosado will be a pretty even match one on the undercard of Mayweather Guerrero, and I think it'll happen. And before I would talk about Mayweather Guerrero, because there was a lot of talk about this picture that came out that I posted on Facebook with Mayweather and Guerrero. I want to talk about Jessy Cruz's next fight. Jessy's going to be fighting Ricardo Hernandez in a rematch. The first fight, Jessy almost knocked the guy out in the first round. I mean, I was there, you know, covering the fight, and I'm not supposed to cheer from ringside. I wanted to like shout instructions and jump up and down. We love Jessy, but I think he'll knock him out in this fight. Am I right?
I'm pretty sure. I don't want to get too cocky, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to finish the job this time.
How tough was it? Like your last fight, you said got canceled a day before the fight. The guy fractured his hand. You had to miss Cuban Nochebuena. Do you guys know what Cuban Nochebuena is, dude? This
man.
is like pork,
Automatic,
rice,
man.
beans,
Even
yuca.
the white guy of this trio right now, Cuban Nochebuena is the best holiday of the year.
They made Jessy miss Cuban Nochebuena. They made
30th birthday.
him his 30th birthday, New Year's, and then the guy fractured. How frustrated were you?
Oh, I was super mad. Everybody in the gym had their head down. They were like, "Oh man, you were training so hard." I was like, "It's boxing. It happens." And I got this call, and I was like, "Yes, why not? Undefeated fighter. I like taking people's O's away, And plus, I had something that's gonna remove a loss from my past that I knew I had the win. So I've been sparring with Jennifer Vicente. He's 23-1. He just lost to Chris Avalos. 23-1 with 50 knockouts. Been sparring 10 rounds, 4 minutes. This is gonna be a 6-round fight. I should walk through this guy.
And I want to give a shout out to a friend of ours, Andy Garcia, who just won a Caja China contest for best pig. I'm gonna talk to Andy after this fight. Jessy wins. I'm gonna have him make a pig. We're gonna celebrate Nochebuena in March, dude.
With Jessy, yeah.
Oh,
after
man.
Jessy's win next Friday, you guys can all meet up with us, and we'll have a Nochebuena for Jessy with a Caja China. It's gonna be a great night. Jessy, I didn't have a chance to see the first fight, but it's a fight that you ended up losing by decision. And what is going to be the difference? Your power obviously came into play in the beginning of the fight, and then the tide changed. What is your thought strategically, or do you want to let into that as well? But what makes you think this fight's going to end up being different?
First, my coaching. I have a whole different coaching system. Herman is a mastermind at picking the opponents apart. Ricardo led in. He doesn't do it on purpose. He led in with his head a lot. That was my first fight that I got head butted on my chin and my eye. We kept on fighting. It was a war, man. I think it was probably the best fight of the night. It was toe-to-toe, action-packed in the middle of the ring, exchanging, and I don't think it's going to get to that point next week. I think I'm going to be able to keep him on the outside, and when he rushes in, catch him with a left uppercut and probably put him to sleep.
And if people want to attend the fight, where's the fight going to be at? Where's the card?
Yeah, it's going to be at the Hard Rock next week on the 15th. I think I don't have too much info on it. I think it starts at 8 o'clock, but it's going to be at the Hard Rock in Hollywood. It's going to be a great fight. I don't know who else is fighting. I've been so focused in this fight that I don't even know who else is on the card.
I'm sure like Ed Paredes or something.
No, I don't think Ed. I think Uniecki is going to be the main event, but I don't know who else is going to be. I've just been so focused. I don't even know what movie is out. I don't know what commercial. Nothing's out. I've just been training, sleeping, so.
That's awesome.
And I keep plugging stuff. My friend Andy and his Caja China. We're here at Energy Kitchen. But I also want to plug, Jessy's one of the best barbers in Miami. Sorry for being a fighter. So you could plug your barbershop.
Well, honestly, for this fight, I've probably been working 3 days, couple hours a week. I haven't been so focused that I put everything to the side.
His customers are mad.
Yeah, they have been, and I'm turning off my phone next week, so they're really gonna get mad. I told them.
They have afros. They're like wolfing right now.
Yeah, I've been actually.
They got dumped by their girlfriend.
Yeah, actually last year I've been part-time cutting hair. I've been cutting my customers that I've cutting for years up, so I have a selective clientele now, and hopefully I'm putting the clippers away this year and doing big things in boxing.
And it all starts with the win against Ricardo Hernandez, and I have faith in Jessy that he's going to pull it off. But that was Boxing During Dinner here from Energy Kitchen. Jessy, best of luck. You'll be back on the show soon, and Nochebuena in March. That's what we're going to be celebrating in a few weeks.